This is Radio Free Hillsdale, 101.7 FM. I'm Scot Bertram, and with me is State Senator Mike Shirkey. Senator, how are you?
Good morning, Scott. I'm doing just fine on this nice, brisk Monday morning.
We'll have far more of these as we continue on into the fall and winter, absolutely.
Amen.
SenatorMikeShirkey.com is where to find out a little more information. He's on Facebook as well, and represents the 16th State Senate District in Michigan. And, Senator, that includes Coldwater, of course, and the governor taking action just on Friday, I believe, signing a bill helping an upcoming merger for the Coldwater Hospital. What does this do? Why was it necessary?
The Coldwater Hospital, community hospital, as it exists today, has a governance structure that makes it cumbersome for ProMedica to come in and acquire/partner with them. ProMedica is a large health system. I think their corporate headquarters are in Toledo, and they're bringing much-needed access to capital to the Coldwater area for the hospital for upgrades and so forth. But this presented a hurdle, and it was a substantial hurdle that could only be corrected by allowing them special accommodations to change the governance structure. And so this doesn't cost anybody any money. It doesn't increase anybody's liabilities. This is strictly I'll call it a perfunctory type of belt and suspenders change to allow that transaction to occur in a timely fashion. So it's all good news for the Coldwater community and the hospital, the community hospital there. And all indications are that ProMedica is planning on investing a substantial amount of money there. So that's good as well.
How often is the kind of bills that end up getting signed by the governor, the kind of bills that get moved through the Senate, end up being kind of these perfunctory things, right? I mean, this doesn't cost anyone any money. It's kind of just cutting through some of the bureaucracy that would have slowed up the process or changed the way the process had to go. How much of your work is things like this?
Not enough, actually. I enjoy working on things that remove unnecessary obstacles, that don't tie up taxpayers for higher levels of obligations and basically free up freedom. And that's exactly what this does. I've been involved with 4 or 5 of them in almost 7 years now that I've been in the legislature, so it happens on occasion, but this is the most recent one. And this is one that I think the people in the Coldwater area, Greater Branch County and Coldwater area specific, will notice the differences pretty quickly.
Senator Mike Shirkey with us. It's Radio Free Hillsdale, 101.7 FM. I'm Scot Bertram. Wanted to discuss also something that happened in the House, but we've talked about it previously, and I'm sure it's not going away anytime soon. And it's auto insurance reform in Michigan. I just tell the story, that there are many great things about living in Michigan, and I've been here about 20 months now. A little more than that, actually. But one that wasn't great was the sticker shock, so to speak, seeing an auto insurance bill from where I came from in Illinois to here in Michigan. And people who have been here for a while, of course, know it's the system that largely is pushing up those rates. So reform has been on the minds of lawmakers and citizens for a while, but the House unable to pass anything through. What's the latest on this?
Thanks for asking, because you're right. This issue is important, necessary. There's necessary reform required, and it's not going away. I've never had a chance to ask you, Scott, is it recent enough in your memory for you to recall kind of the difference between what you were paying in Illinois versus what you're paying in Michigan, and how different are the coverages, too, if you can kind of speak to those two? I'm rather curious, and I think your listeners would be curious as well. Yeah,
I mean, the coverages that I have here and there were exactly the same, outside of the no fault, which is, of course, required in Michigan. Right. So everything was the same except for that. And the difference in price was not quite double, but really close to double, every 6 months. So quite significant.
Yeah, it is significant. Well, I have friends and acquaintances that live in southeast Michigan and the city of Detroit in particular, whose insurance bills on an annual basis are at nearly as much as the value of their car.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we got a structure here in Michigan that basically forces people, entices people, incentivizes people to drive illegal because they can't afford the insurance. But so you're right, this is not going to go away. Here's my observations. The House did move the needle a little bit by putting legitimate ideas on the table that actually got to a vote, and that is for tiering the amount of coverage that you have under no fault.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, to me, is a positive. We still have deeply entrenched interests on both sides of this issue. On one side are the insurers, and on the other side, and I would say the insurers accompanied by ratepayers. And on the other side is the provider network that has become very comfortable and very reliant upon the richness of the benefits that our no-fault system provides. That doesn't mean anybody's doing necessarily something that's illegal. It's just, this is what happens when you make government mandates, and that is that usually they result in somebody figuring out how to take advantage of them. Then they become deeply entrenched and part of the culture. And then when you want to change them, the inertia to change them is just intense.
Right.
And this is what maybe Exhibit A for that kind of thing. Michigan has, for instance, more brain injury clinics in our state. I believe this is a true fact. More brain injury clinics in our state than the rest of the nation combined. And that's just an example of the result of government mandates that require things of ratepayers and taxpayers.
Now, everyone, most people know Michigan's the only state that treats auto insurance in this way with that requirement. And I think you kind of got into this with the inertia comment previously. But I don't hear any big movement to sort of repeal it completely and move toward the way the rest of the states are doing auto insurance. Are you feeling that at all?
No, I'm not feeling that at all. I actually sensed this time that there was an interest on both sides of the issue to try to reach a conclusion, but the opposition still was greater than that interest. But I do think that the providers in this case have recognized that, if their definition of win remains just to kill legislation, then I think that's not a long-term strategy for success for them. And so I don't expect this to go away. I'm anxious for us to take it up. The Senate passed what I consider to be a pretty good start for auto no-fault reform, but it didn't get any attention in the House. And so I'm disappointed that the House didn't get something out, because then we would have had two different packages that we could start reconciling together, and I think we would have had a great chance of accomplishing something. But I'm going to choose not to be discouraged, disappointed but not discouraged, and we got to keep trying.
State Senator Mike Shirkey with us here, representing Michigan's 16th State Senate District, SenatorMikeShirkey.com. Find him on Facebook as well. I'm Scot Bertram on Radio Free Hillsdale, 101.7 FM. Wanted to also discuss a piece I was reading in the Detroit News from the weekend. We may have mentioned this previously, but a longer piece here on a ballot proposal trying to get on the ballot in 2018 called the Voters Not Politicians Petition, amending the state constitution to create a 13-member redistricting committee to redraw the maps across Michigan. 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, 5 who are independent, not affiliated. And my take on this, as I think we may have talked previously, is it seems ridiculous to try to take politics out of something that is inherently political. There are these petitions going around that the story is about Republican efforts to fight the ballot proposal. What are your thoughts?
This proposal, though maybe well-intended, is fraught with errors. First of all, we'll just start with this. Something this comprehensive and this complex that affects our Constitution is very difficult to explain in 100 words or less on a ballot proposal. And so, everybody, all sides of this issue will be playing games with trying to either support or oppose it, because there's no way you can explain it in a ballot in 100 words or less. Mm-hmm. Second point, to your point, well, it's inherently political. I've read through the ballot proposal now, the detailed language, and the restrictions on who can actually serve on this board are, you can't, on those 5 independent folks, for instance, they can't ever have been married to, related to, have a son or daughter, or mother, father, aunt, or uncle that it has have in ever any way been involved with any political party from a leadership standpoint. I mean, it's ridiculous notion to think that we could find people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, I believe we are. I'll just share with you openly. We are evaluating our options on, and we'll likely come up with a counter proposal that makes that addresses some of the concerns. I'm not suggesting that all the concerns are not that are not legitimate, because some of them are. But I will tell you that that there are very strict rules in our laws and Constitution on how redistricting is done and how frequently it's done that we have to follow, and they are tested in the courts every cycle, and they ultimately are resolved by the courts in every cycle. So nobody should think that anything is being done that's illegal, immoral, or otherwise bad.
Right.
And frankly, the party that's in control is in control. It can't be said any simpler than that.
Yep.
So, voters are ultimately the ones that decide who's in control. And for the last couple of rounds of redistricting, voters in Michigan have decided that Republicans, by and large, are in control of redistricting.
Yeah. Senator Mike Shirkey at senatormikeshirkey.com. Find him on Facebook as well, serving the 16th State Senate District. That's Branch, Hillsdale, and Jackson counties. Senator, we always appreciate your time, and thank you again for jumping on with us.
It's always my pleasure, Scott. Look forward to talking with you again in a couple of weeks.
That's State Senator Mike Shirkey, and I'm Scot Bertram. Find more of our interviews on our SoundCloud page, soundcloud.com/Radio Free Hillsdale, or up on our website, radiofreehillsdale.com. And this is Radio Free Hillsdale 101.7 FM.